Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2024 Canadian County Junior Livestock Show. This evening, we're going to start off with our Gilt show, but before we get started, I'd like to direct everyone's attention to the center of the arena for our national anthem. Please rise and remove cover.
Early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rugged red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you. And this evening, we're going to start off with our Gilt show in the Berkshires. We have 4 entries, 1 class. We have 36 total entries in our show this year. For those of you who have friends and family at home, they're welcome to join us online on YouTube. They can follow the Canadian County 4-H YouTube page. We're streaming live here tonight, tomorrow, and all day Wednesday. Our judge this evening comes to us from Stratford, Oklahoma, Kyle Sweatfager. Once again, we have 4 exhibitors in 1 class in Berkshires. Those exhibitors are welcome into the arena at the direction of the ring stewards. Chester White, you have 1 exhibitor. Please be making your way to the makeup pen. And Duroc, this is your first call. We have 3 classes in Duroc with a total of 8 entries.
Well, what an elite set to start out with today, and I would be lying to tell you that this was a county that was always on my bucket list. The quality of hogs that have been shown in this county and hog people that have been involved with this county has always been very, very admirable. And man, you know, you always wonder what are they going to be like when you judge, and you see 4 gilts that come out here, and all 4 of you need to be very proud, and I mean that sincerely, because a very, very highly competitive group of Berkshire gilts to start the day. Gilt that wins the class for me just does it. She's so well balanced. I like her added extension up for front of her blade. She's a gilt that moves around on her feet and legs as well as anything out here. Got a great angle to her shoulder, to her hock. She's a little bit more secure on her back too, and has a little bit more grow and extension to her than the gilt here in second. The gilt in second's one that's wild in terms of muscle down her top, comes right out of her blade with a real rolled up back there, and I like that. And females, they don't have to be hugely shapely for me, but this was one that's big-footed and heavy-boned. She's a nickel square right at the base when she comes at me than the gilt in second. And though I don't think she's perfect on her rear too, I like the angle to her hock a little bit better. I like the security in which she handles her back two better than the gilt in two. And I think she does that because she is longer in her hip than the gilt here in 3. Gilt here in 3, young man, you've done a great job. Big, hairy, super stout structured gilt. She's one that's really heavy boned. I love that about her. I like her depth of rib, her squareness at top. She's one I need to lengthen in her hip. I need to make her more secure when she goes away from me. She wants to step east and west a little more than I'd prefer. I'd like to see her go north and south, touch more. I'd maybe like to trim her up in her condition just a little bit. Young lady's gilt that rounds out the class is really good from her front 2/3. Really like the rib shape. She might be as round ribbed as anything in class. Her head comes right out of her neck where it needs to. She gets a little bit different in the way she handles her rear too. She's not as fresh and youthful in her overall appearance, but an excellent high quality class here. Let's give all those young people a nice round of applause for a good class to start the day.
Your results in the Berkshire, your first place and also breed champion. Congratulations to Tegan Winter representing Banner 4-H. In second place, and your reserve champion, Tabor Winter representing Banner 4-H. Third place, Even Henkel representing Yukon FFA. And fourth place, Aubrey Valbrick representing Miller 4-H. Those are results for your Berkshires. We're now moving our attention to Chester White. We have one exhibitor in that class, one exhibitor in the breed, Durocs. Please be checking in. We have 2 exhibitors in our first class, 2 exhibitors in our second class. Please check in the makeup area at this time.
Only a single entry in our Chester division. Young lady brings this one out here extremely well presented. She's got her hair and skin dialed in. She's really, really white and bright, and you can tell she's been working with her the way she drives and the quality of her hair and skin. This gilt really opens up well with big feet, great big rib, got a great big chest in her. She could be cleaned up in her rear hock structure just a little bit, maybe elevated up front, but an awfully good Chester gilt. Very well deserving of a nice round of applause. Let's pay her off.
Put your hands together for your breed champion, Merritt Major, representing Maple 4-H. Moving right along, we're now ready for Duroc. We have 8 total exhibitors in 3 classes. We have 2 entries in class number 1, 2 entries in class number 2, and 4 exhibitors in class number 3. All Duroc exhibitors, please check in at this time. We're now showing class 1.
Again, we've got two high-quality individuals, and they come out here in two totally different packages. The young man's gilt that wins the class for me, she wins it on her security on her hind leg. She's really square and opening her toes down low. She's one that's got a big, broad chest in her. I like the angle that she has to her shoulder, the flex she has right there at her knee, and at the same time, this one's certainly not devoid of muscle or width or heaviness of duty all the way through. She's one that comes at you with the big, stout skull, big square back. Every once in a while hits a back leg a little harder than I term ideal. It looks more like an injury, but when you look at the way her structure's actually made, her angles down at her pasterns and to her hock, I think that's the gilt that's more secure and better in her overall structure off her rear too. Young lady brings us an extremely tall fronted, very attractive and neat fronted gilt. I really like that about her. I like the added extension this gilt has. Where I need to change her the most is soften her up in her shoulder a little bit. She gets a little straighter and steeper there. Her back too. She wants to hawk in a little bit, wants to swivel her back feet a little bit. This is a very, very unforgiving surface here. Young lady's done a good job with this gilt though. Let's give both of them a nice round of applause.
The results of the first Class 1, Bryson Cooper, first place, representing Maple 4H. In second place, Riley Harland, representing Mustang FFA. We're now ready to move on to Class number 2, looking for 2 exhibitors. Class 3, looking for 4 entries, please check in the makeup area. Class 3, please check in the makeup area.
Good pair of gilts that come out here. Both these gilts have a tremendous amount of muscle to them. Both of them are very thick-ended gilts. It's got big stout shoulders and mugs on them. One of them just balances out here better for me. She's one that comes at you with a big chest. She's really fresh and youthful in her overall look. A gilt, for as much as she's packing from behind, is so square from her hock down to her ground. Really admire that. That's a young man's gilt here. She's going to win the class. The gilt here in second's one that's got a little bit more length of body. She may be a little bit longer out of her hip than the gilt that starts the class. She's one that's got a tremendously high quality underline in terms of her teat size and teat quality there. Got a little bit of extra spacing on this front side over here, but boy, that's a heavy duty, heavy bone gilt. I just got to make it more secure and square off her back too. Let's put our hands together for those two young people doing a good job.
Your results of the Class number 2, first place, congratulations to Aiden Johnson, representing Mustang 4H. In second place, Aubrey Valbrock, representing Miller 4H. We now have 4 exhibitors in Class number 3. Those exhibitors are entering the arena at this time. Following Class 3, we will show for breed champion and reserve. Hereford, we have 2 exhibitors in 1 class. You guys should be getting ready. Hereford, please be getting ready.
Really an interesting pair up here on the top end of this class, and there's definitely some give and take. One that wins the class to me looks like a lady. She's very feminine up there front end. She's still stout enough in her feature for me. She's a big-chested gilt. It's really square and true down to the ground. A gilt that I like the amount of flesh that she has on her. When I compare her to the gilt here in second, there's two things that I like about her. I like the added extension up front. I like the fact that she handles her back to just a little bit more securely. I'd like to flex her a little bit more on that rear hock and make her stride out a touch longer, but I think an awfully good quality gilt there in first. The gilt here in second's one that's massive in her rib cage, her depth of rib and body. I love that about that gilt. I like her stoutness of feature up through her skull. I need to change her. She's starting to hit a little differently on her back left there. It looks like she might have a slight injury, and I hate that because that's an awfully high quality gilt right there. Young lady does a tremendous job of driving her. She's one I'd like to, up there front end, like to change her on those back two, and that's what got her today, but I think an awfully high quality gilt there in second. Third, we have the great big gilt, the high-performing gilt. Young man's got over there in the green shirt, really big-bodied and thick-ended. She's one that gets a little tighter in her spine. She gets a little bit more restricted in the way she can flex out of that. Makes her chop up a little bit on her back, too. But, boy, you talk about a gilt that's got a lot of performance and growth to her. Looks like she's done very, very well. I like the fact as a breeder, she's got a big vulva on her as well. And if you ever sat behind them, you'd know why that's so important. The gilt that's coming out here in fourth is a gilt that's heavy boned and tall fronted in her own right. She just doesn't come out here as in a fresh a package, doesn't have the shape that some of them others have. Gets a little straighter off of both ends. Let's put our hands together for those young people doing a nice job. High quality set of red ones.
Results in class number 3. First place, congratulations to Evan Hinkle, representing Yukon FFA. In second place, congratulations to Tegan Winter, representing Banner 4-H. Third place, Cash Pivniska, representing Yukon 4-H. And fourth place, Naomi Gonzalez, representing Yukon FFA. We're now showing for Champion and Reserve Duroc. Hereford exhibitors, you have 2 entries in the Hereford breed. Please check in the entry area. Hereford, please check in the entry area. Poland, China, you're not too far behind. Exhibitors, you're also reminded throughout the entire show, today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, when you're showing in the arena, please wear your back number. Please wear your back number on your back. If you need safety pins, make your way to the announcer stand. We do have extras.
All three of these gilts have a lot of good parts and pieces to them, and I don't know if there's one that just puts it all together in an absolute complete package. And as we look at them, the two bigger gilts, I like to lengthen their stride off their rear two just a touch. I do like their attractiveness and their femininity up through their front end. That lightweight gilt is one, as we talked, is so stout in her features. She come out big in her chest. She probably takes the longest stride off of her rear two as any, and at the same time favors her back left just a touch. When I look at her, I've got to decide if she's immature enough up through her skull and neck, and if she's got enough extension right there, because I certainly appreciate her squareness all the way through. I love her bone, her open toes that she's got. I like on her rear bone, she's not just heavy structured, but it's a flatter bone that's clean in its hock, and I think it's very, very impressive in a breed that gets a little rounder in her bone sometimes. Between the two heavyweights, the middleweight gilt there is one that is packing as much as I could think I could ever swallow. I'd like to tame her down in her muscle and smooth her up in her muscle system just a little bit. I'd like to lengthen her hip just a touch as well. And this heavyweight gilt is one that the front 2/3 I absolutely love. I just wish she had stride longer off those rear two. And you could be really picky, pick her up on her front two just a little bit. I think it's a good set out here, and we could argue them back and forth. The one that does suit me the best in terms of her femininity, her balance, and that is Young Man's the biggest gilt here. She's going to be your champion.
Champion Duroc comes out of class number 3. Congratulations to Evan Hinkle, Yukon FFA.
For reserve, we bring that second place heavy, and one that is really deep rib. She's good design. She proportions extremely well. She's just favoring that back left and actually compensating as the drive goes on a little bit with the right, getting a little bit softer on that back passion. But I think that's an awfully good hog. I guess the one that I find second most complete today, one that I certainly admire for overall stoutness, Young Man's lightweight, is going to be your reserve.
Reserve champion comes out of class number 1, Bryson Cooper, representing Maple 4-H. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to direct your attention to the announcer stand and introduce you to Luke Roselle, representing Sentinel FFA.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Luke Roselle, and I proudly represent the Sentinel FFA chapter as a candidate for your next Southwest Area Vice President. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. We're now ready to move on to Hereford. We have 2 exhibitors in one class. 2 exhibitors in one class. They're now entering the arena at this time. Poland China, please check in. And Spot, please be checking in the makeup area.
I'm going to use the added bone and feature and overall rib shape of the young man's gilt to win the class. One that balances very well, a gilt that moves relatively well off of both ends. I think the young man could be really commended for bringing us a nice Hereford gilt. The gilt here in second's one that I'd like to drop her ears first. I'd like to make her heavier structured and give her a little bit more shape to her rib. But you talk about a gilt that's got great extension, length of front end. I love the length of hip in this gilt. I just got to stouten her up all the way through. Young lady has done a tremendous job of driving her. You can tell she walks and works with her a lot at home as well as she drives for her. Let's give both those young people a nice round of applause for a good class.
Your results in Hereford, first place, and your breed champion. Congratulations to Aiden Johnson, representing Mustang 4H. In second place, Cadence Keller, representing Mustang FFA. We're now ready to move on for Poland, China. We have 2 exhibitors in 1 class. Those exhibitors are entering the arena at this time. Following this class, we will have our spots. We have 2 classes in spot, looking for 3 total exhibitors, 3 entries. Please check in at the entry gate, now showing Poland, China, 1 class with 2 entries.
Nice pair of gilts out here that both have a lot of quality to them, and at the same time, I think one sorts to the top pretty comfortably for me, in that she is so good in her feet and legs. She's so comfortable in the movement, balances extremely well. Young man's gilt here is going to win the class for me, and she's one that, as you can see, is leveler down her top. She's more fluid in the way she handles those rear too. This gilt here's got a lot of good and quality to her. I like her shape that she's got down her top. She's a thick-ended kind of a gilt. She's one that would have a big chest, just gets a little tighter spine. Looks like she suffered an injury at some point as she's a little tight out of one side of her hip there. Young lady's done a good job with her. Let's give both of them a nice round of applause for doing a good job.
Your results in Poland, China, in first place and your breed champion. Congratulations to Tabor Winter, representing Banner 4H. Reserve champion, congratulations to Cadence Keller, Mustang FFA. Moving on, we're now looking for 2 exhibitors in Class 1 of Spot. 1 exhibitor in Class number 2, please be standing by. Following Spot, we have 1 exhibitor and 1 entry in Yorkshire.
I'd be the first one to tell you I'd like to combine these two, and that if you've got one of the two out here, you probably think you win because you have the advantage in a couple of areas over the other one, and that would be true because I think each one does have advantages back and forth. We'll talk the two and then place them in that. The Gilt over here to my left, I like the fact that she's so comfortable on the move, really big-bodied and big-chested. She's got a huge rib cage to her. As I step back and analyze this Gilt, I've got to question myself if she's big enough in her kind, and is she strong enough down her top. She especially going to get kind of weak right there through her loin area, and she's a Gilt that's pushing plenty of cover for me in all actuality. This Gilt here is one that's so heavy structured, great big forearm. I haven't placed them yet, young man. I will shake your hand then. Really big in her forearm. She's tall fronted. She's a Gilt that's very immature up to her front end. She's got the added advantage in length of hip as well. She's stronger down her top line. Where I get concerned with her is she's one that gets a little straighter in her front shoulder. I'd like to tilt her shoulder back. I'd like to clean her up in her hock structure as she goes right away from me. I think two very high quality Gilts, and I certainly want to stress that because I think they both have a lot of quality. The one that I suit with and it makes me more comfortable in the type of hogs that I like, young man to my right here is going to be our class winner. This young man will be second.
Results of the class number 1, first place. Congratulations to Hudson Locklear, El Reno FFA. Second place, congratulations to Davis Morris, Yukon FFA. We're now showing one exhibitor in class number 2.
Young man brings us a stout skulled Gilt that's really extended up to her front end. A Gilt that's got a good hip structure to her. I'd like to elevate her at the point of shoulders just a little bit, maybe square her up at the ground just a nickel as she comes right at us. The young man's done a good job, though. Let's give him a nice round of applause for his single entry.
Results of the class number 2. Congratulations to Landon Barton, representing Union City FFA. We're now showing for champion and reserve spot. Your Yorkshire single entry, please be standing by in the makeup area. I'd like to have all of our champion and reserve champions please make their way back into the makeup area for our champion and reserve champion purebred selection.
For our champion spot, again, we've got two different total types and kinds out here. This Gilt's not perfect that I'm going to make champion, but boy, her silhouette is really daunting in terms of her heaviness of structure, her immaturity up to her front end. I'd like to soften her shoulder a little bit. Young man out of class 1 is going to be your champion.
Breed champion, put your hands together for Hudson Locklear out of class number 1, representing El Reno FFA. Now showing for reserve champion.
For reserve, young man brings that Gilt out here that's really busted open, great rib shape. I'd like to strengthen her top and make her a nickel bigger. She's my second favorite out here. She'll be reserved. Young man right here will be third in the lineup.
Your reserve champion spot, congratulations to Davis Morris, Yukon FFA. We're now moving forward to our Yorkshire single entry in one class. All of our champion and reserve champion purebreds, please make your way back into the makeup area for our purebred champion selection. Now showing our one entry in Yorkshire.
only a single entry in her Yorkshire division here, and she brings a gilt that's very practical in her overall build, really big-footed and heavy boned. I love her hip and hind leg this gilt has. I'd like to pick her up a nickel on her front pasterns there, but I think just a good gilt, just real fundamental, got a lot of quality to her. Let's give that young lady a nice round of applause.
Champion Yorkshire, Hannah Hinkle, representing Yukon FFA. We're going to reset the arena, bring in our champions for the Purebred Champion Selection. We're now ready to show our Purebred champion. In Berkshire, Tegan Winter, banner 4H. Your champion Chester White, Merit Major, Maple 4H. Champion Duroc, Evan Hinkle, Yukon FFA. Champion Hereford, Aiden Johnson, Mustang 4H. Champion Poland China, Tabor Winter, banner 4H. Champion Spot, Hudson Locklear, El Reno, FFA. Champion Yorkshire, Hannah Hinkle, Yukon, FFA. Reserve champion exhibitors, please be standing by. Attention exhibitors, show fans, and parents. Aaron Russell. Aaron Russell, please make your way to the announcer stand. Aaron Russell.
First of all, I want to commend you all on showing gilts at this county. There were years that when you get the OIE, there'd be a lot of gilts from this county that did well and didn't get to show at their county because they didn't have them. So I think it's really neat that y'all brought the gilt show on. And boy, you brought a nice set of purebreds out here, and I think that the quality has been extremely good all the way through the show. And sometimes it may sound like I'm being critical, but sometimes with the quality hogs that we have, we've got to break them down, and we've got to. And as a judge, I think it's my duty to tell you what I'm seeing and what I would change about them. I'm not going to be extra long-winded with them and that, and I will tell you that whenever it's time that I need to take a lot of time for my decision, I will, and if I don't believe so, I will tell you as we started the show today, there was one that come through the gate that hit me awfully hard right there at the very beginning, and I think she's awfully good. She's really complete, and for some people, they'll call her too long-bodied. I call her long enough that her body functions, and she's so extended up above her blade. Her length of hip is great. Feet and legs are awesome. Young ladies, Berkshire is going to be your champion purebred.
Champion purebred comes out of Berkshire. Congratulations to Tegan Winter Banner for H. Attention, purebred exhibitors. If you placed in the top 4 or 5 in your breed, please make your way. Draw your attention to the main arena. Your number may be called for sale selection.
Reserve Bird Gilt's another one's got a lot of quality to her. I like her density of bone. She may be heavier structured than our champion there. Not as secure on her rear too. Not as square right at the ground when she comes right at you. For me, it gets close between another pair of gilts out here, and I'd like to change each one of these gilts on the opposite ends. One of them I'd like to take a longer stride. The other one I'd like to push her shoulder back just a touch. I think both of them are extremely good quality gilts, and I think they offer a ton of breeding potential in that. One that suits me second best, and she's kind of tightened up like she did in her breed champion drive. I think an awfully good quality gilt, though. The Duroc here will be your reserve.
Reserve champion purebred, congratulations to Evan Hinkle, Yukon FFA. Exhibitors, please draw your attention to the arena help. We're now going to select at least 14 deep for our preliminary sale selection. So please be advised and keep your ears open if your number is called. Once again, Aaron Russell. Aaron Russell, please report to the announcer stand. Aaron Russell.
Selecting our bronze out here, I think there's several gilts that kind of push and come into contention out here, and I don't know that any of them are totally perfect. One of them I like to souten her up in her overall feature and muscle, and one gilt I'd like to change her on her back too, just a little bit, lengthen her front end. Other gilt I'd like to soften her shoulder just a touch. I think a good set out here. The one that I would truly haul home though for your bronze out here and your purebred young man spot here is going to be your third overall.
Bronze purebred champion, congratulations to Hudson Locklear, showing a spot representing El Reno FFA.
To you so I can just say it faster.
We're going to reset the arena, be ready for our light cross. We have 9 total entries in 3 classes. Class 1, looking for 3 exhibitors. You can make your way to the makeup pen. Please check in. Class number 2 has 4 entries, and class number 3 has 2. Once again, light cross. Please be checking in the entry area. We have 3 entries in class number 1.
Landon Barton spot.
We're now showing our first class in light cross. We have 3 exhibitors. Class number 2, light cross, please be checking in the makeup area. Also, class 3, light cross, please check in the makeup area. We have 3 exhibitors in the first class, 4 in the second class, 2 in the third class. All light cross exhibitors, please check in the makeup area at this time.
Lots of quality out here. I know we just have three, but we've got three really exciting individuals. The Gilt that wins the class for me does so in her security and the way she handles her rear too, off of both legs and not just one. A Gilt that opens up really good at her pin set. I like her squareness from her hock down to the ground. A Gilt that's really big in her toe and foot size. She's got a great big forearm in her. I like her extension and immaturity a little bit better than the Gilt in second up to her front end as well. I think two high quality Gilts. Gilt here in second. It's one that's huge in her chest. I love that about her. She's a Gilt that's got a good round shape to her rib there. Where I need to change her, young man, is her back left leg. I need to make her more secure in the way she handles that. I like the angles that she's got to this right one, but it really throws her off on both legs. The Gilt in third here is one that young lady brings us out here really fresh in her presentation. She's big chested, got a great big top and hip in her. She's really fluid in her movement, but she's one I'd like to change. I'd like to stouten her up in her structure. I'd like to pick her up on her pasterns on both ends, but a high quality Gilt there in third. Young lady's done a great job with. Let's give all those young people a nice round of applause.
Your results are the class number 1. First place, congratulations to Josie Felton, El Reno, FFA. In second place, Evan Hinkle, Yukon, FFA. And third place, Claire Whitman, Maple, 4H. We're now showing class number 2, looking for 4 exhibitors in class number 2, light cross. 2 exhibitors in class number 3, please make your way to the makeup pen and check in. 2 exhibitors in class 3, light cross, please check in the makeup area. Dark cross exhibitors, please be thinking about it. We're now working class number 2 out of 3 in light cross.
I'd be the first one to tell you I'd like to combine this pair of gilts right here. One of them's really got the look that I like, and the side view profile, tall fronted, comes out of her neck shoulder really good. She's really strong in her pasterns and heavy structured, but she gets a plenty flat for me up to her forerib. The other gilt opens up better there, big chest, good turn to her rib cage. I love that about her. One though, I'd like to square up on her front feet, and I'd like to strengthen her in her front pasterns, and I've really kind of gone back and forth because I love the added rib and dimension of this gilt here, but boy, I need to strengthen her on her pasterns on both ends. I'm going to use a young lady here in the pink to win the class with one that I dearly love from the side view profile. Really big forearm, heavy bone gilt. Like the fact that she is more up on her pasterns. I like the fact that she's so square in her makeup out of her hip. This gilt here in second, as we talked, I just need to change her in a place or two, but certainly admire her for all the quality that she does have. I just got to pick her up on all four. The gilt that's going to be third here is just kind of a basic fundamental production kind of a gilt that's big chested and got a lot of internal dimension. She's a gilt that's very fluid in her movement, takes a nice stride off of both ends. The gilt over here in fourth is one that's a little bit old school, if you will. That's one of them that can place fourth in her county and raise the Grand Bear the next year because she's got a lot of good to her, a lot of quality. She's big-footed and heavy bone. Really a thick-ended gilt, one that I need to reconstruct up to her front end, make her neck come up out of the top of her blade, make her a little bit more fluid in her movement. Good quality set all the way through. Let's give them a nice round of applause.
Results in class number 2. Congratulations in first place, Kelly Bradshaw, Piedmont, FFA. In second place, Tegan Winter, Banner, 4-H. Third place, Court Shelton, Union City, 4-H. Fourth place, Adriana Trillo, Maple, 4-H. We're now showing class number 3 with 2 exhibitors. Dark Cross, please be making your way into the makeup area. We're showing class 3 of 3 in light cross. We have 5 entries in class number 1 of Dark Cross and 3 entries in class number 2. Now showing class 3 light cross.
I'm going to use a young man's white gilt to win this class here. One that's a really, really big-bodied, good design kind of a gilt that comes at you. I really like the way she's made up to her head and skull and jawline. A gilt that really moves well off of both ends. Young man's to be commended on her hair and skin as well. This young lady's really doing a fine job of driving this gilt. And this is a gilt that's got a lot of basics to her that I like. She's a big-footed, heavy-boned individual. Got plenty of muscle. I need to make her go better off of her rear, too. And I'd like to make her more attractive up to her head and neck as well. Make her a little bit more feminine in her look from the side there. Let's give those 2 young people a nice round of applause for doing a good job.
In class number 3, first place, congratulations to Journey Miller, 4-H. In second place, Adriana Trujillo, representing Maple, 4-H. We're going to bring our class winners back in for breed, champion, and reserve. Dark Cross, 5 exhibitors in class number 1. Please make your way into the makeup area at this time. Dark Cross, class number 1, looking for 5 exhibitors. Class number 2, looking for 3 exhibitors. Class number 3, 9. First 3 classes of Dark Cross, please make your way into the makeup area at this time. Now showing for champion and reserve.
Really an exciting trio out here, predominantly white gilts, and I think each one of them has got an advantage over the other two in particular areas. I wish I could combine all three of them, and at the same time, there's one that, if I say true to the way I like hogs, hogs has got some internal dimension that balance well, really good on their feet and legs. I think there's one that excels the group in terms of the way they handle their feet and legs, and I'll be the first one to tell you she's not the heaviest bone one out here, and she's got a little bit more middle and just excess belly for me. I'd like to clean her up and trim her up in her condition, but I think she's a very, very fault-free gilt that excels the group in terms of her feet and legs. That's a young man's heavyweight. She's going to be your champion.
Champion comes out of class number 3. Congratulations to Journey Miller 4H. Now showing for reserve light cross. Once again, dark cross, 5 entries in that first class. Make your way to the makeup pin.
We'll bring a dark blue gilt there, and we talked to her in class. I'd like to make her more feminine up there front end, change her rear too. There's another one out here. She's standing still. She's absolutely my kind, and maybe a little bit harsh on the fact that she goes a little outside of herself from behind. I'd like to give her a little bit more turn to her rib. I'd like to take her home in my trailer and breed her too. Young lady in the pink's going to be reserve champion.
Reserve champion comes out of class number 2. Kelly Bradshaw representing Piedmont FFA.
We talked that second place gilt in that class coming out here. I'd like to pick her up on her passions on all 4. She's got a lot of good to her. The one that suits me next best, young ladies lightweight, will be your next one.
Well, mine's in a different order, that's fine, than what y'all's are.
We're now ready for our first class in dark cross. Looking for 5 exhibitors in class number 1. Class number 2, 3 exhibitors. Please check in at the entry gate. Class number 2, 3 exhibitors. Class number 3, looking for 9. Right now, we're showing class 1 dark cross.
very close up here on the top end. Both these gilts I'd like to make more comfortable in the way they set the rear two down, but boy, they both got a lot of quality to them. And this gilt just opens up with so much more dimension right out of her blade. She's so square and dimensional down her top and over that loin. She's got a big pin set to her. I like her stoutness of skull and extension up front. She, like I said, I'd like to change her in the way she sets her rear two down. I think an awfully good, high quality gilt to win the class. This other gilt out here, when she first came out, I wanted to win the class with her. She's one that's a little drier and harsher in her body, if you will. I like her elevation up front, though. I like her stoutness of skull. She's very shapely down her top. She's thick-ended. I need to drop her down in her flank a little bit, make her just a little softer in the overall look. I could make that pair really, really close. This gilt here is one that's really tricked out in terms of feature and structure. She's the big hairy-legged one, if you will, one with the big square back. I've got to make her longer hip and make her function out of those back two just better to move on up in the class. Let's go ahead and put our hands together for these young people doing a good job.
Results of the class number 1 dart cross. First place, congratulations to Collins LaFoe, Maple 4H. Second place, congratulations to Bryson Cooper, Maple 4H. Third place, Cole Johnson, Mustang FFA. In fourth place, Kyra Kropp, Yukon FFA. And fifth place, Cadence Keller, Mustang FFA. Now moving on to class number 2, looking for 3 exhibitors. Class number 3, we have 9. Class number 3, please check in. Make your way to the makeup inn at this time. Now showing class 2.
Good set of gilts up there. This top pair are designed extremely a lot alike from the side view. I think the one is a little bit more elevated up there front end. She's a little more attractive up there head and neck as well. And I think where she wins the class, the young lady's gilt, is that she's square from hock to ground on her back legs there, especially that back right. Is she as tricked out and heavy boned as this other gilt? No, she's not. This other gilt's got a huge back leg working in her. I love that about her. She's a big-toed, thick slick individual that opens up the great big chest. She's got a good turn to her rib cage. I need to make her stronger on her front too. I need to square her up, especially on that back right way she handles this carpet out here. The gilt that rounds out the trio here is a good quality gilt in her own right that's got some rib and body and function to her. She's one that gets a little pitch forward in her shoulder, not the same structure in terms of heaviness and structure of the two that beat her in class. Let's go ahead and put our hands together for a good class of Class 2 dark crosses.
Your results of the class number 2. First place, congratulations to Kelly Bradshaw, Piedmont, FFA. In second place, congratulations to Tabor Winter, Banner, 4-H. And third place, McKinley Butler, Mustang, 4-H. We now draw your attention to class number 3, looking for 9 exhibitors in class number 3. Class 4 with 4 entries, please make your way into the makeup area. Your class is next. Following class 4, we have 6 entries in class number 5. Be thinking about it. Right now, showing 9 entries in class number 3.
Just let her sit for a second. This is a really good set of gilts in here, and there's a lot of give and take. And if you're from 1 through 5, or even that 6th place gilt, and you thought you had an area or two you win, you're right, you do. There's just not one that totally can puts it together out here. And some of these are coming out here, and this surface is a little different, and they have to get used to it. And this red belt, when she first come out, I thought she needed to walk a little bit. Young lady, that's why I didn't pin you initially. This is one that's really good design. I think she's a combination gilt of the class. She's big-footed. She's heavy-boned. She still looks like a lady out the front of her blade. She opens up good in her chest. She's got good turn to her rib cage. She's got true honest muscle to her, and she utilizes her hock and takes a step the longest as anybody out here off of her back too. I think a really high quality gilt there to win the class. Gilt here in second, young man. We got to get this gilt more air. She needs to go longer than what she did when she initially hit the ring. This was going to be my class winner. She's got the internal dimension, the rib cage, the stoutness and squareness that I really like. As the drive went on, it didn't bother me. She got a little open mouth. That happens sometimes, but she got to walking a little wider and wider and choppier off those back too. If we loosen her up, I could win the class still with her as we look at her there. Gilt here in third, young man, you've done a great job fitting this gilt. And to be real honest with you, she is the soundest. She's the best walking. She's the most in shape. You've done an immaculate job with hair and skin. I think you've done a great job, or somebody has a fit in this gilt, because structurally she's the narrowest base all the way through. I think she's a little bit man-made, and that's why I put my hands on her. She's carrying a little extra fat over her top and forerib right there. Young man does an excellent job of driving her, has done a great job all day. Let's give him a nice round of applause. Here's a gilt that's got a bad attitude. She's got pieces I like as well as anything in the class. I really think this one could use some shavings to set down in, because she's not liking this surface. But boy, she's so square right out of her blade. She's extra tall fronted. She's got a big forearm. I need to make her more comfortable in the way she sets those rear two. I'd like to drop her down in her flank. Like I said, there's pieces of that gilt I like as well as anything in the class. I just need to change her in an area or two. Young man here's hair and skin is on cue. He's done a great job. This gilt's got a lot of basics that I really like. I like her added extension, her height of shoulder. She's heavy boned. She got the most restricted, the earliest out of the drive out here. She's one I'd like to change in her hip structure just a little bit as well, but an awfully high quality, high caliber class. Let's give all those young people a nice round of applause.
Your results are the class number 3. First place, congratulations to Josie Felton, El Reno, FFA. In second place, Davis Morris, Yukon, FFA. Third place, Mason Morris, Miller, 4H. Fourth place, Riley Harland, Mustang, FFA. Fifth place, Journey Miller, Miller, 4H. Sixth place, Mason Morris, Miller, 4H. Seventh place, Sterling West, Mustang, 4H. Eighth place, Chloe Gore, El Reno, FFA. And ninth place, Miranda McDonald, Mustang, FFA. We're now ready for class number 4, looking for 4 exhibitors in class number 4. Class number 5, please make your way to the makeup pen, looking for 6 entries in class number 5. Class number 6 has 3 exhibitors. Class number 7 has 3 exhibitors. Both classes, please make your way to the makeup pen. We are now showing class 4 with 4 exhibitors in Dark Cross.
as often these crossbred drives now, as we make them heavier bone than that, we see a lot of passions problem. And all 4 of these, I'd like to pick up on their front 2. The one that still handles it the best and most attractive in the side view profile, young lady over here that's going to win the class. And I'll tell you, she's not the heaviest muscled one, not nearly in this class, but she's one that's comfortable. She's sound enough. She's the one that kind of sorts her way to the top. This Gilt's front 2/3 is the best in the class. She's big chested, really heavy structured, big footed. She's one that has got a great big rib cage in her. I need to change her hip structure, make her more fluid off those rear 2, and we don't need to take any more off those front toes or there won't be any left. The other 2 Gilts here, I just need to change both of them. They're both wanting to hobble a little bit out of their front ends. They've got a lot of good basics that you like, the rib, the dimension, the muscle and that. This Gilt's really long strided. I just got to pick her up. She's tucking those dew claws right there. I'd like to make her bigger and a kind. Young man does a great job of driving her, though, and to be commended being a big kid like that. The Gilt rounds out the class, maybe have as big a forearm as any. Just need to make her go better off of both ends. Let's put our hands together for another good class. Kids are working hard.
Your results in class number 4. First place, congratulations to Riley Schoaf, Yukon FFA. In second place, Hannah Hinkle, Yukon FFA. Third place, Carson Cooper, Calumet FFA. And fourth place, Haley Waveday, representing Yukon FFA. We're now showing class 5, looking for 6 exhibitors. Those entries are entering the arena at this time. Class 6, be standing by with 3 exhibitors. Class 7, be standing by with 3 exhibitors. Now showing Class 5.
What in the world are you looking at those two that long for? Because they're nothing alike, absolutely nothing alike. They're the two freshest gilts out here, and that's one thing they've got in common. The young man that wins the class here has got one that's really, really bold and stout-centered, a great big fresh back in her. Still got some extension up there her front end. I'd like to change where her back legs comes out of her ham. She kind of comes out of the center of her ham right there. I'd like to set that hawk back a little bit, allowing her to, whenever she moves, to bring that hawk back past her tail. But she's a gilt that's got so much dimension. Her internal dimension and stoutness all the way through just overwhelms this gilt here in second. Young lady, if you were wider and stouter, you'd win the class. I like your elevation. I like the fact that you're still stout-skulled and heavy bone. She just gets too flat and a little bit too narrow for me in terms of her base width, but she's got a lot of really good fundamentals. You're really to be commended on your hair and skin. This gilt here in third looks a little older than what I like to use, but she's a gilt that's very practical and very functional. She's stout, she's big top, big ribbed, heavy bone. I'd like to freshen her up in her overall look, but I think there's a lot of quality in that gilt and a lot of basics that we certainly need. Let's go ahead and put our hands together for a very challenging class.
The results of the class number 5. First place, congratulations to Sutton Strika Miller 4H. In second place, congratulations to Hannah Hinkle, Yukon FFA. In third place, Jordan McBain, Mustang 4H. Fourth place, Cheyenne Stuckey, Union City FFA. Fifth place, Allie Lovelace, Mustang FFA. Sixth place, Callie Wilson, Mustang FFA. We're now ready for class number 6, looking for 3 exhibitors in class 6. Class 7, be standing by, make your way to the makeup pen at this time. Now showing 3 exhibitors in class number 6.
Like a young man going to the corner over there to win the class, or immaturity up front, a gilt that opens up with a big chest and lots of internal dimensions. She's got a great big top plate in her. She's certainly got more center turn to her rib cage like that about her. I like the length of her stride. I'd be the first one to tell you that, but I think a gilt puts a lot of practicality and has a lot of good in her. The gilt over there really paints a nice silhouette. She's a gilt that's really big structured, and she's flat in her bone. I like that about that gilt. She's got a big fresh top in her. She just goes a little too east and west for me from behind. Needs to be picked up in her front pastures. Young lady's done a great job with hair and skin, though. Really does a nice job of driving them. Young man, you're in third, but you don't have a bad gilt. You have a very good gilt. It's big chested. She's as elevated at the point of the shoulders of any of them, and still handles her shoulder very well. Where she comes apart for me is right there at her loin. Kind of wants to drag her back too. I need to change her out of her hip, and the way she handles her rear too, I could move her up in the class. Good class. 3 real nice gilts.
The results out of class number 6. First place, congratulations to Ian Morris, Yukon FFA. In second place, congratulations to Presley Bennett, Yukon FFA. Third place, congratulations to Landon Barton, Union City FFA. Now ready for class number 7 with 3 exhibitors. First, second place exhibitors out of the first 6 classes, please be standing by.
This top pair of gilts has a lot of quality in them, and I change both of them in a place or two. I'll talk the two, and then I'll place them. Young man's gilt right here in front of me. I love the length of hip and the squareness of pins this gilt has. She's very comfortable in the way she handles those rear two. I like her added extension up in front of her blade. She's still stout, but trim and feminine there. She's big-footed and heavy boned. I like that. Where this gilt concerns me is she's flat on her front pasterns, and to the point it's starting to affect her front shoulder. Her front shoulder is coming forward right there at the point. I'd like to change her right there, but I really love that gilt back through her hip and through her hind leg. This gilt here is really dimensional. She's big backed, she's big hipped. She's a gilt that's got plenty of structure to her. She gets plenty soft up front as well. Wants to fold her dew claws underneath her feet just a little bit. I hope he can keep her sound all the way through the city. city. This gilt, where she concerns me today, is on her rear too, especially that back right. She's favoring a little bit, and she's got some fluid in her hock right there. I need to clean it up right there. There's some give and take, and if this gilt was totally sound, I think she'd win the class for me in terms of being cleaner in that hock and not limping a little bit on that back right. I think it's an awfully close placing. The gilt that intrigues me the most today, because she is a little sounder and has a better hip and hind leg. This young man will win the class. This young man will be second. This gilt that's third in this class, an awfully good gilt as well. She's got a big rib cage to her, big hip. She just goes east and west too much, and she is the frailest of the top three, but probably the best on her feet and layout or on her pasterns of any of the three. Let's give those young people a nice round of applause for an excellent quality class.
Results of the class number 7. First place, congratulations to Journey Miller 4H. In second place, Wyatt Dodd, Mustang 4H. And third place, Zoe Scott, Calumet FFA. Our class winners for our 7 classes are lined up. We're ready to show our champion and reserve.
This is kind of your typical crossbred drive these days. There's so much quality out here and so many pieces that are so good and so incredible. And at the same time, there's so many things we've got to focus on as breeders and correct and make better. And whenever I judge and whenever I started judging, little kids dream about being a basketball player or whatever. My Michael Jordan was a livestock judge. That's what I wanted to do from the time I was a little kid. I grew up in northwest Oklahoma and lived in Kansas for several years. And I come from my father raised several show animals himself and that, and taught me well in that. And the reason I always wanted to judge is because I didn't want the limelight of being in the center of the ring with the microphone. I wanted to judge a show and do it the way I thought it should be done and for the right reason. And I'm going to tell you, this is such a competitive county that depending on where you go in that, there's people who are going to say you did things for different reasons. If I ever judge a show and I have an agenda, I will never pick up the microphone. I will not step in the ring. I'm going to judge them the way I like them. And I think there are so many good qualities and good pieces out here. At the same time, I think there's one that is the best one in my mind. She is my type and kind. She is not perfect on her rear tube because there's not one out here that's totally perfect on her rear tube. But she's one that's got extension out in front of her blade. She opens up with a big chest. She's got great turn to her rib. She's got plenty of muscle. Comes out of her back, right out of her blade with a ton of muscle. I love her skull shape, her immaturity. I like the fact it looks like she's grown. She's actually performed, and she's still on her way up. Young lady with this red belt's going to have your champion dark cross.
Champion comes out of class number 3, Josie Felton, El Reno FFA.
That second place Gilt comes out in class. When I saw her come in, she was the one I really liked in terms of her internal dimension. She's so square in that. She got a little hot and bothered and got to step side to side a little bit. I'd like to change that about her. There's another Gilt out here I'd like to change on her front end. Another Gilt I'd like to change. Just tweak a little bit on both ends. She's just not square enough coming at me. I don't like where her hind leg comes out. The one that suits me second best is that second place Gilt. She'll be a reserve champion dark.
The reserve champion also comes out of class number 3, Davis Morris, Yukon FFA.
forgot about me. I knew you would.
Next in the lineup, Sterling West. Please make your way to the arena. Sterling West.
Thanks.
Thank you, exhibitors. We're going to take a short recess. We'll be ready to bring in our light and dark cross for champion and reserve. We'll have that order here momentarily. We're going to take a brief recess. We're going to have our light and dark cross come in for champion and reserve and preliminary sale lineup. We're about ready to get started for our light and dark cross champion and reserve selection. We'd like to ask, if you are not showing, please exit the makeup area so we have plenty of room for these exhibitors. If you are not an exhibitor, please exit the makeup area. There's plenty of room on either side in the stands. Please, you may make your way to the stands at this time. We need all the space necessary for our light and dark cross exhibitors. As we prepare for our champion and reserve champion selection, we're inviting all of our light and dark cross exhibitors back into the makeup pen. In order to do that, if you are not an exhibitor, we're asking that you please exit the makeup area. If you're not an exhibitor, please exit the makeup area to make plenty of room for our light and dark cross exhibitors. Our light cross exhibitors are Journey Miller, Kelly Bradshaw, Josie Felton, Evan Hinkle, Tegan Winter, Clara Whitman, Court Shelton, Adriana Trujillo. Those are your light cross in order. Please line up. You will get some direction from the arena help. Those are your light cross. In your dark cross, Josie Felton, Davis Morris, Sutton Stryka, Journey Miller, Wyatt Dodd, Mason Morris, Riley Harland, Ian Morris, Hannah Hinkle, Kelly Bradshaw. Those are your top 10 dark cross. You will get further direction from the arena help.
We're putting light and cross in prelim, right? Yes.
Yes. Once again, the light cross lineup. In first, Journey Miller, Kelly Bradshaw, Josie Felton, Evan Hinkle, Tegan Winter, Clara Whitman, Court Shelton, Adriana Trujillo. Dark cross. In this order, Josie Felton, Davis Morris, Sutton Stryka, Journey Miller, Wyatt Dodd, 5th, Mason Morris, 6th, Riley Harland, 7th, Ian Morris, 8th, Hannah Hinkle, 9th, Kelly Bradshaw, 10th. There's your top 10 dark cross. Checking with the back. Do we have our light cross in order and our top 10 dark cross in order? Your champion light cross is Journey Miller. Your champion dark cross, Josie Felton.
I really like this pair of gilts out here. Obviously, I've got them as my two champions out here, and I think there's some give and take between the two. The red belted gilt is just really big pawed, got great big toes in her. Love that about her. I like her immaturity yet stoutness up through her skull. She's very shapely down her top. She's one that from the side she gives you're afraid that she's going to step outside of herself, and actually you get behind her and you're pleasantly surprised. She actually stays pretty square and true and actually moves them forward and backwards, and that's an optical illusion sometimes that I don't know what causes it, but it actually is out there, and I've seen it before. The white gilt come out in that division. She's so massive and stout. She's got a big back, balances tremendously well down her top. I love her strength there, her immaturity and stoutness as well up through her front end. She's not the biggest legged one, but she's certainly not average in bone by any means as well. Where she concerns me a little bit is I'd like to clean up her hock structure a little bit. I think it's actually gotten fuller as the day's gone on out here, but that's one that's really, really big in her rib. I love that about her. I love her total dimension. I like them both extremely well. We got to pick a champion out here. The one is certainly my kind that I like the very best is this red belt. She'll be your champion.
Champion cross comes out of the dark cross, Josie Felton, El Reno, FFA.
For for reserve. We bring this off-belted gilt, and I've talked to her both times. One that I really like, and I actually, when they come out in class, thought this would be my class champion over that red belt even, and she just wanted to tie up a little bit. She's chilled back out and walking square out here. Her added advantage, I think, in cleanliness, a hawk, and that is what's going to sort it for me. She'll be your reserve cross. Let's give that young man a nice round of applause.
Your reserve champion cross comes out of the dark cross, Davis Morris, Yukon FFA. how many purebred? We're ready for our grand drive. We're looking for the top 6 purebreds. Our top 14 cross and our top 6 purebred, please make your way back into the makeup area. Here momentarily, I will call your names off, but if you know you were top 6 in the purebred and top 14 in the cross, make your way back into the makeup pen. We'll call you out here momentarily. In your purebreds, we're going to call you back the top 14 at the direction of the arena help. We're looking for these exhibitors. Tegan Winter, Evan Hinkle, Hudson Lockler, fourth, Bryson Cooper, fifth, Tabor Winter, sixth, Tegan Winter, seventh, Aiden Johnson, eighth, Davis Morris, ninth, Hannah Hinkle, 10th, Cash Pivniska, 11th, Merritt Major, 12th, Riley Harland, 13th, Landon Barton, 14th, Aubrey Valbrick. In cross, in this order, Josie Felton, Davis Morris, Journey Miller, Kelly Bradshaw, Sutton Stryka, Wyatt Dodd, 6th, Evan Hinkle, 7th, Mason Morris, 8th, Tegan Winter, 9th, Riley Harland, 10th, Ian Morris, 11th, Hannah Hinkle, 12th, Clara Whitman, 13th, Presley Bennett, 14th, Collins LaFoe, 15th, Tabor Winter, 16th, Bryson Cooper, 17th, Court Shelton, 18th. Your top 6, purebred. First, Tegan Winter. Second, Evan Hinkle. Third, Hudson Lockler. Fourth, Bryson Cooper. Fifth, Tabor Winter. Sixth, Tegan Winter. Those are your top 6, purebred. Top 6 cross. First, Josie Felton. Second, Davis Morris. Third, Journey Miller. Fourth, Kelly Bradshaw. Fifth, Sutton Stryka. Sixth, Wyatt Dodd. Those are your top 6 cross. Entering the arena at this time is your Berkshire champion, Tegan Winter.
You can just do this too.
Head champion in your champion cross, Josie Felton.
I'd say if these two don't kind of tell you what my MO is, then I don't know what would. This is the way I like them to balance. I like them to have some extension to them, and I don't need them to be extra long where they don't balance. But if they'll balance in that, I'm sorry, I like pork chops. I'll put another couple in there. So, the cool thing is make them short-backed, and we're making them short-backed. We don't even know why we make them short-backed anymore. But the reason we first started making them short-backed, just for those of you who think us old guys are dumb, is because you could get them bigger framed if they were shorter back, and you could be the tallest pig out there when that mattered. See, some of you think you're cool and we're old and dumb, and I bet you didn't even know that was the reason we made them short-backed. I like to have fun, guys, and I'm going to have fun. I believe in this program. I love this program. I love this pair of gilts out here. The one that suits me best is one that is a little heavier structured. The young lady's red belt will be your grand champion.
Your 2024 Grand Champion Gilt. Congratulations to Josie Felton showing a dark cross.
Blue cards. You gotta have your blue card.
When you come into the arena, make sure you have your blue cards. Make sure you have your blue card on you when you come into the arena.
We dropped that second place or reserve champion Crossbred Gilt in, and I've told you all day, I thought she was going to be my class winner, and the other Gilt was grand, so that probably makes her pretty high in my book. She's going to be a reserve young man's dark cross.
Your 2024 Reserve Grand Champion Gilt. Congratulations to Davis Morris with his dark cross.
Bring a white one out here. She's an absolute tank, and I love a lot of things about her. I need to clean her hock structure up a little bit. The other one that just excited me, and I think she was in the very first class of the day, this young lady's Berkshire. I think is a rock star. Congratulations to her.
2024 Bronze Grand Champion. Congratulations out of your purebreds, Tegan Winter with her Berkshire. Draw 4, Journey Miller with his light cross.
What was Tegan?
Draw 5 with her light cross, Kelly Bradshaw.
Are you marking them all? No. Okay.
Draw 6 with the dark cross, Sutton Striker. Draw 7 from the purebreds, Evan Hinkle and his Duroc. Draw 8, Hudson Locklear with his purebred Spot. Draw 9, Wyatt Dodd and his dark cross.
Class 6?
No, he's six draw. Duroc, Bryson is 10. Draw 10 comes out of the purebreds is Bryson, Cooper's Duroc. Draw 11, Dark Cross, Mason Morris. Draw 12, Dark Cross, Riley Harland. Draw 13, Poland China, Tabor Winter. Draw 14, Dark Cross, Ian Morris. Draw 15, Aiden Johnson with his purebred Hereford. Draw 17, Claire Whitman and Light Cross.
18 was Caspinizza.
Draw 18, Cash Pivniska and his purebred Duroc.
See, look, Sutton struck us Dark Cross. Sutton struck us Dark Cross. Class 5.
That does conclude our show this evening. If you would like to have your picture taken with the judge, you may make your way behind the announcer stand to the backdrop. He'll be there waiting for you for the next few minutes. You have the next few minutes only. If you'd like your picture taken with the judge, make your way behind the announcer stand towards the backdrop for your pictures. We'll start tomorrow at noon with our barrow show right here, the 2024 Canadian County Junior Livestock Show. Good night and safe travels.